Well, hello and good evening, you guys.
Happy New Year!
Yeah, Happy New Year. It's 2021. We made it. So I'm Katie Morton.
And I'm Jennifer Palmer.
Together we are divinely guided. We're both intuitives, energy healers, and spiritual teachers.
And every Thursday night we come on here live to answer some questions that you might have for your spirit guides and loved ones.
Unless you're watching the replay. In which
I know, right?
We're not live.
But there's always great information, and a lot of times what comes through will apply to you as well.
That's right. So it's helpful to watch the whole video, whether we're talking to you directly or not. You might see something or hear something, and you think, "Oh gosh, I think they're talking to me," and we probably are. Pew 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 pew.
And if we're not, then join us live next time so we can talk directly to you.
Yes, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So we have some.
Oh, somebody said, "Hey, they like the intro."
Oh yeah, that's new. Glad you like it.
We're having so much fun.
We are. Joylyn.
Yeah.
Joylyn. Hi. She says, "How are you both? We're doing fabulous. Any fantastic messages from Spirit on this day?"
Let's see what they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like what they're saying, and I know that you had said you were looking at another job possibility or something. I don't know whether or not this is regarding this, but it does feel like 2021 is full of a lot of possibilities for you. A lot of choices. But all very, it feels very good.
Okay, and this is not on the job front, but I was getting a couple of weird things that came in quick succession, and they said that it's for you. So one was I heard hot pants, and then I heard hot blooded, like the song Hot Blooded, check it and see. And then I saw Rod Stewart wearing his gold hot pants singing, "If you think I'm sexy." You know that song.
That's really funny.
Yeah, very weird.
That is.
But it was like all came in really fast, and I was like, "Wait, what? One at a time, please."
Well, and I said I wasn't sure if it had to do with the job. I said I remembered that she was talking about getting a job, but I didn't know what this had to do with. Maybe it's lots of love interest.
Hot pants. I don't know.
Hot pants. I don't know.
Hot blooded and gold lame pants.
It's going to be a fun New Year.
Right?
Let's see if we get anything else.
Okay.
So what they're showing me, well, okay, it's funny. Your guides are so fun tonight. I don't,
Yeah.
But they showed, how Superman breaks open his shirt and he's got the Superman costume on, his superpower suit. Well, I saw that, but you doing it. But what they said was there's layers and layers that you're diving into. And it doesn't feel like the deep, heavy, dark shadow work that I think you've done. It feels like really getting to know yourself more and like coming more into your own power and shedding the expectation things that are on top of you from other people. I think is what this is about, shedding that and then coming into your own true power. I think that's all I'm getting. Are you getting anything else?
Yeah. Well, the other thing when she said personal power, I heard personal empowerment, I think is going to be a really big theme for you this year. And I'll just tell you, the other image I saw was of, in the 70s, early 80s, when roller skating was the big social thing to do. And I saw the disco ball, and you were there roller skating to...
I want to do that again.
To that If You Think I'm Sexy song. But it was how there was things people could do with their hands, crossing them and doing all these little dancing things. You were doing all kinds of little roller skating dance moves. but I didn't get, it was weird because I saw you and there was like the sense that there was a partner there, but there wasn't. It was like you were there and it was like you were somehow doing all these things as if you were in partnership, but I didn't see another person there with you. So little strange, like a little weird, but I think it also kind of goes with the personal empowerment thing. And just being that hot-blooded sexy mama that you are. So
That's pretty awesome. All right.
and I feel like that's it, and I feel like some of this is open to your interpretation as well. Who's next?
Cynthia Liang. It's her birthday. Happy birthday.
Wow.
Any messages for her?
Happy birthday. Cool.
I'm not sure what this means yet, but I want to describe it in case you're getting something. I saw like numbers up in front of me, like just like ones, twos, just some simple numbers. And then all of a sudden it became, I don't know if you ever saw The Matrix, but you know, the guy who's reading the screen of The Matrix and there's numbers and things all over the place and it's like moving. It turned into something more like that.
Okay. Well, what I heard as you were getting that was that this was going to be a really good year for you because it's going to be a year of incredible personal growth. And it felt like those spiritual epiphanies and those ahas that can feel really amazing that go along with soul growth. Sometimes soul growth can be very challenging, but this feels very positive and like leaps and bounds of consciousness growth and higher perspectives and levels of consciousness.
So if you think about, well, the way it was across, it is something to do with like the idea of waking up in the matrix. And I know you've told me what you do for a living before. I don't know if it has anything to do with numbers, but it felt very, when I just saw a couple of numbers, it was like, oh, okay, this is my reality. When in true reality, it's so much more complex and there's a lot more to it. And it's fascinating. And I do think that this is a major year for you. And this is the Great Awakening. We are stepping into a year of a lot that I think is about to happen. And our guides are saying that, you know, this is a worldwide spiritual awakening. We're all kind of learning more about the reality we're in. We're becoming, believe it or not, a more close collective at some point. But with all of that, we all have a lot of learning to do. We have a lot of spiritual truths, personal truths, ego to get out of the way, and hearts to open. And I do think that this is going to be a major year for you with some of those things. In a very positive, very good, fun kind of way. You know, it's interesting. I think, you know, a lot of people this year and maybe in the following years to come, I think, you know, whatever this is, I think maybe a couple years, but it just feels like, you know, some people, their heads are going to be like, and they're going to like not know what to do with it. I feel like you're going to be like, oh, wow, that makes sense. That's so interesting. And I think, you know, some things are going to click into gear for you.
Yep. I'm feeling that. Yeah, I'm just here and stay open-minded. I think that this year for people who are, if you think of the way like a baseball player is with those like soft knees and they're like ready to sort of bounce and move and be a bit flexible, like people like that who can sort of catch information and go like, oh, okay, I'm open to it. I'm going to like be open, be curious. Those are the people who are going to do really well with assimilating all the information that's going to be coming at them this year. People who are very rigid in their foundation, their truth, which may or not be real. Those are the people that are, you know, it's like the oak tree in a hurricane that's going to break, right? It's like sway like the willow, you know, be open to receiving and just stay curious and just know, you know, like nothing's impossible, that sort of thing. I think a lot of people, they sort of shut down to the endless possibilities of truth out there, and then they have a really hard time accepting information that sounds like weird or not normal. And then if you don't kind of keep up, things just keep getting weirder and weirder, and then you find yourself kind of behind. And it reminds me of math class as a kid. Like if you sort of don't get one piece of it and then they start building information on top of information, it's like you're dead meat. Like you're screwed. So this year is like spiritual math class for people. It's like keep up, stay flexible, keep learning, stay open. Like don't close your mind and get rigid.
Be curious.
Yeah,
and be willing to shift. And I think this is for all of us. I mean, Katie and I even talk about it for us. We're like, what are we going to be learning and understanding that we have to shift our ideas about? Whenever we're rigid, it is only ego. The ego just does not want to be wrong. And but the soul, the deeper part of you, really wants to know more truth. And so when you're just really connected to that, you're more open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not being afraid to admit you were wrong about something is important this year, I think. For everybody.
Yeah. Lots happening. All right, Whitney.
Okay, Whit. She says, so what's up for 2021? And any messages coming in for me? Thanks, boss ladies. Okay, boss lady yourself. Okay. So I've seen this image for you before, Whitney. This one is like slightly different, but it was you going through 2021, and it was like this the Tasmanian devil going through the year, like, oh, but then at the end it stopped, and it felt like not necessarily through the full year yet, but like it stopped. The feeling I had was like October or something. I don't know, September, whatever, fall-ish. And the swirling stopped, and then it's like your hair was all disheveled, and you were like, like what was that? Okay.
Sounds like fun.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what else.
That was the dog grunting because I'm petting her nose.
Yeah, my dog grunts. It's like her way of purring.
Yeah.
I call it gurfing. She gurfs.
See there? Gurf. That was not my stomach growling, I promise.
I call her Gurfle Muffin sometimes. I heard it's going to be an exciting year for you, Whitney, a good year, and that you're going to get unstuck in some areas where you felt perhaps stagnant in the past.
I was seeing a clearer picture too of what's to come for you and where you're going and what you're stepping into. I feel like is becoming more and more clear. But again, I still feel like, it's not just one thing. It's multiple things coming together to create a broad spectrum product, if that makes sense. Product also being service.
Yeah, just be ready and willing to serve, and that'll be good, and it'll take you far.
And we know you are, so.
Yep. That's half the battle, right?
Okay, Rachel Rose Farber.
Okay.
Any messages for me for my guides tonight?
Okay, Rachel. Sure. Okay, so what I just saw is it felt like the first quarter of the year felt like the nuts and bolts and the exploration of some soul growth. And what the sensation was like, if you were represented by a cardboard box, someone's like shaking the contents of the box, and you're like, ah. And then after that part was over, it was like this. Do you want to try?
No, go ahead.
Okay. You should try that sometime. You should all do this at home. Anyway, after that part was over, then I showed it was like this blooming carpet of flowers. And that is actually how, when you go through the tough part of some of the awakening bits, some of the, I think it feels like shadow work, probably. Looking
that
within.
makes sense with what I was getting.
Okay, you go ahead.
Well, what I was getting was the sense of needing to, what I heard first was more self-care, and then realizing that it was more than just like physical self-care, like taking care of the physical body. It was more internal self-care. And it feels like, in the past, a lot of your attention has been on what's outside of you and like what's being mirrored back to you, kind of a thing. Behaviors of other people and how you've been in relationships and just things like that. It feels very focused exterior. But it feels like in 2021 to really shift, like turn things around and really go within, because there's a lot that I think they want you to explore about lots of different things in your life. It doesn't feel like it's any one particular subject. It feels like it's just everything. Maybe, really connecting more deeply to your soul. Like, just who are you really? What are you really here for? And I just heard someone just said simple truths. The simple truths of where you've been stuck and where things aren't making sense. I think a lot of times we complicate things in an effort to appease our persona, and it doesn't always need to be that complex.
Yeah. So what Chen's referring to is the ego is shifty, and it likes to hide simple truths from us, and it likes to complicate things, and it likes us to be in a state of like frustration, upset, confusion, blame. It's the self-preservation. It's like the sort of continuity of the personality that it wants to hold in place. And some of the things I was getting that you're going to look into for yourself is just feel like some issues around childhood and parents, and who you are as a product of that, and who might you want to become, and really being able to set the ego aside and connecting in with the soul, like you said, and learning to be very self-authentic. A lot of us we think we're honest with ourselves, and sometimes we're not. Sometimes we tell ourselves little white lies so that we feel better. And so learning to kind of catch that and see it, I think is going to be an important part of the process.
Well, and also too, to recognize when you're being egoically authentic versus when you're being soulfully authentic. It's two very different things. And that's just,
I think that would be helpful information for the group, Jen.
So, we all have the soul aspect of us, but we also have the egoic personality, persona aspect of us. And there are usually a lot of masks that the persona wears. And what you want to do is you want to be able to take those off and really look within and become the observer. And this is kind of a harder concept for people to understand until they've actually tried to become the observer. When you can observe your thoughts and almost like be the one who's watching what's going on inside this mind, body, spirit complex instead of the one experiencing it. And that's how it's almost like a degree of separation between you and the persona. And it's a lot easier to see, where are you actually being authentic? Where are you being inauthentic? Where are you putting on a bunch of masks and pretending to be something, or trying to achieve something that's really not who you really are, but you think it's what you're supposed to do, so you do it. And we all do that to some degree. Some of us do it more than others. And we were asking our guides earlier today, because we really want to focus more on this with our soul growth group. If 0 is, you're all persona based, and 10 is you're all soul based, where, kind of like where do most people operate from? And what we got was most people operate from like a 0-1 area. They're
from the ego.
They're mostly operating in that persona ego space. Very few people actually break through all that and get over to the more soul aligned space where you're actually doing what you're here to do for your mission as a soul, and basing the majority of your decisions on that. And so our goal with our soul growth group is to get them further over, maybe more to like a 7-8 kind of a thing. And I think that should be everybody's goal, is to get more in touch with who they really are.
Yeah, and the soul's mission, and not having, and just it's such a more peaceful place to be, because the ego is always like an argument with reality and other
Oh my
people,
gosh,
and
it's
they're
miserable.
like, but the soul is just like, like it's
All's well.
fine. Yeah, like everything's fine. Like
Yeah.
I'm good. So it's a really, it's a very peaceful place to operate from, and it's you're better able to have higher perspectives and better wisdom. The ego is also locked into being jerked around by their emotions, and that's not fun, to not be in control of your thoughts or your emotions. And it's like life just runs you, as opposed to you just being at peace with yourself and life. So if you want, not that this is a sales pitch, but hey, head up to divinelyguided.tv and go to our soul growth group should you be interested. There's in the top menu of divinelyguided.tv, you'll see some stuff.
We got some good things planned.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. Sharon McNichol, anything for me tonight?
Cool. Okay.
I'm not sure what this means yet, but I saw what I think is you. It was a woman. She was all decked out, wearing like a beautiful dress on a stage with sparkly makeup and her hair like in a twist. And she's got the speaker and she's singing one of those really lonely, heartbroken songs. I think what they're saying with this is, at some point in your life, you've had a really difficult heartbreak. And I don't know if it's a relationship or someone's passing or something, but it feels like it made you close up some. And we all have that. We all have things to work on in our heart space. But I think that what your guides are saying, they really want you to work on that this year. And, ultimately, when we have wounds and things, we really need to heal them. And the idea is to heal through the wounds and open even more. It's not to close up more. We're trying to love unconditionally. That's part of the lesson here. And usually what we've done is when we get hurt, we close a little bit more. We close off that section. We close off this section. That person isn't allowed. Okay, so I've learned I can't be that vulnerable, or I can't do this, I can't do that. So we kind of close up, and the idea is to really use these heartaches and these wounds, these things that we go through, these hurts, these pains, to grow because of it and in spite of it, instead of closing up and blocking off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I am getting for you, if you don't have one, I'm hearing that a growth partner would be really helpful. This is a concept Jen and I talk about quite frequently, because we are growth partners for each other when we're going through something. We'll always come to the other, and it's usually about like, well, like, what am I missing here? Or what do I need to know? And what do I need to heal? From a very measured place, because I think sometimes we wind up with friendships that are somewhat overly sympathetic, and they don't get us out of our comfort zone to do the healing that we need to do. And so the relationship that they're bringing up for me is, if you've ever seen the movie Legally Blonde, where Reese Witherspoon goes to Harvard Law School, and she meets this nail tech. She goes to get her nails done, and she meets this lady who she's like, I'm middle-aged and I have a fat ass. Like, she's very depressive and she doesn't speak very highly of herself. But from hanging out with Elle Woods, is the Reese Witherspoon character, she has a sort of growth partner who pushes her out of her comfort zone. She teaches her the bend and snap in the salon. If you all remember that scene, she drops a pen on the ground and she goes, bend and snap. And the heartbroken lady, she does wind up eventually using that and breaking the nose of a UPS driver with her snap. But they fall in love. But what Reese did for her, Reese Elwoods, she pushed her to confront her ex and They shared a warm hug, which was like very healing of the heart chakra. There was like a few different scenes of the movie that it was sort of like, it does feel like you need somebody who's going to help build your confidence, but not in a way that's just like, oh, you're great. It's like, no, let's build your confidence. Let's sort of like work on your
Let's heal why you aren't confident.
yeah, exactly. It was like, let's push you out of your comfort zone so that you're actually building those confidence muscles, like not
Yeah.
just getting it via um, platitudes and compliments. You know, it was like a different level of help. So, yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, it's cute.
Unconditional love for soul growth partners.
What are you saying, Jen?
You've been really hard on me sometimes, and I've been hard on you, and we love each other anyway.
Oh, I thought you meant you're like, well, I guess I'm going to have to unconditionally love Katie because she just shared the plot of a movie. I swear it was guidance.
No, I believe that.
Okay.
All right. Isabel Hauser, Happy New Year. Any messages?
Okay. Happy New Year, Isabel.
Okay, I'm not sure what this quite means yet, but I saw a dog, which I questioned it at first because of your dog, and when she went out for a walk earlier, was wet and was like rolling around trying to dry off. But what I saw was a dog that was wet, and you know how they shake and then like stuff goes flying everywhere. It was like the dirt or the water or what a dog went flying. And it felt like it was a positive feeling that went with it, but I'm not exactly sure what it means yet.
All right. I'll say what I saw, which probably still won't make sense. But do you know that they're talking to me in movies tonight? I don't know why. But at the end of the movie, Ocean's 11, when they're in Las Vegas and they're all lined up staring at the fountain in front of the Bellagio, and it's like this really peaceful song playing in the fountain, the water. It was very key that this message was about the water. So like when you said the dog shook and water came off, it was very like they were like, yes, that. But it was like the fountain was shooting up and the water was like moving peacefully, and it was the feeling of it was like very, cleansing, very satisfying that these people were all reflecting on the heist that they had just pulled off and that now they're all loaded and they have nothing to worry about. It was just like this beautiful, peaceful feeling. You have a successful career as a robber ahead of you. Anyway.
Well, one of the things I was trying to ask questions about was usually when you see an image of a dog, it represents loyalty, faith, friendship, that kind of a thing, unconditional love. The sense I have, I don't know if you've had money issues or something that you've been struggling through, but the feeling I'm getting with this message is that you've done a good job holding that space with enough faith. I don't feel like it's been perfect. I mean, who is? But it does feel like you've done a good enough job where it's like you've held it together. And I think what they're saying is, the reward is here. It's either right here or it's just around the corner. I feel like it's really come in. There's this energy of ease. The word I heard actually is easement. I'm not sure. It's not a word I would use. Yeah, whatever these difficulties were, I feel like they're moving behind you.
So they just want me to share what I just saw was I was still seeing that scene from the movie, and then they sort of swept it away, and it was like a whoosh. And then there was just blackness, and then it was like gold coins started to rain down. And it was like that little tinkling, like of gold coins.
Nice. Well, it sounds like it's been financial, and I think that things are shifting. I think that's the message for you.
Hooray!
And I think that's it. I feel like they're pulling away. Yeah.
Same.
Well, good.
Very
I
cool.
hope that makes sense.
All right. Carrie Goulet says, hi, ladies. Happy New Year. Happy
Hi.
New Year. Any messages for 2021? Okay. So I just heard you saying, oh my God, this is so annoying. Like, I can't take it anymore. I thought I was done with this. And it was like this feeling of, and we've been there when you're sort of grinding on the soul growth stuff that's like not that fun. And it just feels like it just like keeps coming. And the message that we've often got when we're sort of in that state, it's like keep doing the work to like rise to a higher perspective and rise to the higher perspective, and like keep working it, keep figuring it out, because it won't last forever. And they're bringing to mind a talk that we saw. We went to Colorado a couple of years ago and we saw David Wilcock talk. And one of the things he talks about is how, and we talk about this too, like catalysts are for our growth. And as long as we're triggered by something, it's going to keep coming around until we figure out the thing. So it's like, it does feel like they're just like, I feel like you're right, but there's just like something else there to get.
Well, what they showed me was fractals. You know how like, I don't know if you've ever seen those videos of fractals where it's like you dive into a certain design, and within the design is the same design within that design, and it just kind of gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And I think what they were trying to say is you have a general idea of what these growth subjects are for you right now, and they want you to dive deeper into the fractals of it. You know, like go deeper, go deep, and see how deep you can go into it and explore the depths of where this is. Might be a couple of things, but explore it and really figure out where else does that show up in your life. Past life, I'm hearing a ding, ding, ding with that, which usually means like, yes, there's some past life stuff. But really dive deeply with it.
Yeah, I'm just hearing you'll get there, you'll get it. So, and I think the overriding message too, get out of resistance about it and get into that curious state where you can get into those sort of the fractal exploration of it, and to have patience with it. And they just want me to share real quick the story that David Wilcock told about this was that he was driving down the highway at night. It was pouring rain. It was cold. It was disgusting. And he got a flat tire and he had to lay in a puddle at the side, like on the shoulder of the highway with his head so close that he was like going to get flattened by a truck. And he was laying in this like icy, muddy puddle to change the tire. And he basically made the determination of, I don't want to do this again, and I will not get triggered by it. I'm just going to maintain my inner peace. I'm going to be cool with this. I'm going to change the tire, and that's that. I'm going to be done with this lesson. So it's like, not that we can't do that by repressing how we feel about it or faking it. It's just like very much
you can't fake it.
Yeah, you can't. Otherwise, you're just going to have to keep repeating it. So it's like getting to that space where you're like, all right, well, I'm just going to roll up my sleeves and I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to shift out of frustration about it. Because what we've experienced when we get really frustrated about something, and like, let's say I'll come into Jenn's office and I'll be like, Jenn, I'm frustrated. And then she'll be like, well, let's see what there is to learn about this. And I'm like, screw you, like, justify my frustration. And it's like, no, it's just not, it's just not helpful. And we've both been annoyed at the other, being like, look, I'm mad and I have every right to be mad. And it's like, and?
Yeah, you do.
Like, okay.
And that doesn't help. It just doesn't do you any good.
Yeah. And sometimes we just can't switch it off. So, maybe it's processing something to get out of it and just suppress it,
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to go there with it and start asking questions.
All right, real quickly, guys, before we move on to the next person, which is going to be Della.
Yay.
Please like whichever platform you're on, like our video, comment, say something, help us get our numbers up, and share it with a good friend via Facebook Messenger or on your page, whatever you like to do.
If you feel so inclined.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. So, Della, what does my team have to say?
Okay, Della. Happy New Year.
What they're showing me, and I'm not, again, not quite sure what this is yet. I think it's going to feed off of something that you might be getting, but it's like pickup sticks. And in the past, you've been really frustrated because, when you try to do the pickup sticks, like it doesn't work. I forget all the rules of pickup sticks. It's been a long time since I played, but that's what they showed me. And then they showed me frustration. And to not be frustrated, but you're there, like you're at a space now where you're not as frustrated, and it feels like you're more curious. It seems to be the word of the night, more curious around trying to like really work it and figure it out, as opposed to just picking up whichever ones and then messing it all up. And they're also saying too, and I think this is not just for you, I think they're using this for everybody. And I was kind of getting this message, I think earlier today too, and I'm just being reminded of it. We're all in a state of becoming, all of us. And it's so easy to get frustrated with life or each other or ourselves. And there is no unconditional love when we do that. There is none. It's just judgment. And we need to get back to remembering that we're all in a state of becoming. Some of us have different ways of dealing with things. Some of us have more difficult issues to try to work through than others. Some of us have learned lessons that others have not learned yet. And this idea of, why don't I understand this? Why don't I know this? Or why aren't they getting it? Or whatever it is for each of us. It's just not helpful, and it's not very loving. And we need to remember that we're all in that state of becoming. And the more that we open that heart, and for ourselves and for each other and for whatever it is that's showing up that we are in major resistance to, open up to it and allow it to just be. And then you can be in that curious state of trying to figure out, which stick do I pick up next? And what then? Because you can't see 10 layers deep. You have to go with what's there and make that move. And then 10 layers deep, you're working towards and what you're becoming on whatever this is. And you're not going to be able to do that right off the bat. It's really frustrating sometimes. I am always asking my guides, I don't want the long route. Show me what I need to know now so that I can like do the work I got to do and get there, And they're like, oh, honey, no, that's not how it works. And then sometimes when I finally get something and I'm like, it kind of clicks in gear and I'm like, oh, that's what it is. And I'm like, why? Like, I knew it. Why didn't it click into gear 3 years ago or whenever it was? Why didn't it click? And it just wasn't time. I wasn't in the right vibration or whatever it was. You can't go from A to Z in an hour. It's a process. It's an unfoldment. And so love every moment of that unfoldment.
And they also just want me to share, Della, one of the things that can be really helpful for you, I think this is for some people, maybe not everybody. So, put your listening ears on if this could be for you. It's for some people. So Della, you're such like a loving and giving person. And I do feel like you also love yourself. But I also think that there are deeper layers and levels that you could get to with loving yourself more and more and more. And it reminds me of the fractals from Carrie's, like where it's like there's ever deepening ways that you can fall in love with yourself. And when you're someone who is as loving and as giving and generous and unconditionally loving as you already are, Della, sometimes we overextend. It's really easy to then overestimate other people and to think, well, like I'm so loving and giving, and then we can project. So projection and mirroring works both ways, where a lot of times people will project their kind of ugly qualities onto other people. Some people are more prone to projecting more charitable, positive qualities onto other people who don't really deserve it. And then when their expectations aren't met, they're really disappointed in other people and shocked. And so what they're showing me is this way that you can, in order to move from upset at how things aren't working out necessarily, to by turning that love within and the acceptance within, and also to God, and that just that remembrance of like loving that soul within you and loving God, and that you're sort of doing both simultaneously, and it can help to fill your cup to the point then where you can sort of get back out there onto the field and be loving and giving in a way that is also like, whoa, I don't need to have expectations for other people because I've got that solid gold love within on point, and then they can do whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
you have you, and you have that inner peace and that solid foundation of self-love. So I do feel like that's part of the game that you're playing, and it's like, I don't want to play by myself. I want other people to live up to my expectations and play with me, or situations, or, it could even be like wishing world. I feel like it's a combination for you of personal events and also world events, and being like, why aren't things happening? And it's like just doing that inner focus and the dedication to self and to God as just a way to get your, I don't know, your mojo back. I mean, not that you've lost it, but just to like get more mojo. I don't know. Ever deepening layers of mojo.
The fractals of mojo.
Yes.
All right, Susan Hobbs.
Hi, ladies. Any messages for me today? Thanks. Okay, Susan.
Some of these visions are so fun. Sure, again, what this means, I think a lot of times they give me a vision and then they feed you something. So,
and then we have to figure it out.
So, but the vision I got was like, I'm imagining it's from a roll in the hay or something, because your hair is all messed up and there's like hay, or like stuff in your hair, and you're like annoyed with it, like almost like it was a big long splinter or something, but it wasn't like in you, it was in your hair, and your hair was all tousled.
All right, I'll tell you what I was getting, because that is weird. I was getting this song. I only know like a couple words of it, but I'm a cowboy, baby. Da, 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 da. It's I think like Kid Rock or something. So maybe look up the lyrics to "I'm a Cowboy."
Rolling in the hay. I don't know. In the barn.
It's possible.
Well, with my vision though, you were annoyed. And I will say too, in the vision, it was also not just annoyed. It was almost like you're pulling the stuff out of your hair and you're like, what is this? Like, why is this in my hair? So they're just reminding me too, like sometimes in dreams and things, hair can be about your own power. So I don't know if there's been something, maybe a person in your life, some sort of a relationship where it feels like the power entanglement.
Okay, so because I'm getting another bit of this, and based on that, what I think the original image I saw, because like Kid Rock is this sort of like toxic male, I guess, kind of a figure. He's very macho. Some people like that. Nothing against Kid Rock, I don't know, but it's like the idea of just like, oh God, like that guy. It was sort of like also that very like the swagger and the chauvinistic and this sort of egoic attitude. The second scene I saw, it was like that scene sort of went away. And then I saw this field, and then seemed like a sunset on a horse, more peaceful. But then I started to hear the Rocky Balboa training theme song. And it was like, well, when Rocky's like out there running, trying to come into his power, and it was hard. He was getting up at 4 a.m. and swallowing raw eggs. But it was like also striking me of like the macho-ness of it. So I don't know if you're like mad at some macho guy and there's a power struggle with that. or if it's an internal struggle to, because that movie, a lot of it is about his internal struggle to get into his power.
And I just heard believe in yourself. And there's, this feels more like a loved one too. Don't be afraid to move forward. Take some steps to move forward. And whatever this is about, taking steps to move forward, don't be afraid of that.
Yeah. I'm just hearing when they were showing Rocky on the steps doing his, like, cheering himself on after his morning run.
All right.
All right.
Let's see. Amy Money. Money.
I love that you just did that. It saves me from having to do it. Okay. She says, "Hey, ladies, any messages for me? Thank you."
Okay, so I'll tell you what I saw. It was a close up of an eye, and the lashes, like the eye was opening and then closing, but like it's a very pretty eye, but just like opening. I'm like, what are you trying to show me? I think it's about your intuition.
Mm-hmm. I was getting that.
That is her breaking free.
I just heard breaking free from past constraints that was keeping it closed.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's really time for you to move forward and do something with this.
And I'm also hearing decalcify the pineal gland. So there's some research you can do about that. Yeah, I don't need to give you the whole article about it. You can look it up.
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you've ever thought about doing anything. I don't know what you do for a living, but it feels like intuition should be a big part of it.
And I'm also hearing you're also already very clear cognizant, and you don't always honor that. So clear cognizant is the knowing. When you just know things and you're not quite sure how. It's like feels like a hunch or, the gut check. Yeah, so trusting it more. And we always talk about sacred space, make sure that if you're going to really try to, this is for everybody, work on your getting, intuitive guidance to always create sacred space. Just watch our videos. We talk about it a lot. So you can also join our Soul Growth group because we have a free resource about how to create sacred space. So yes, it is extremely important. But the other thing that we're saying is to practice, to meditate. And I'm hearing journaling will be very helpful. So earlier in the video today, we were talking about the consciousness work and learning to be the observer and the witness, as opposed to identifying with the thoughts and feelings and the ego. And that's really an important skill for getting guidance, because when you're stuck with ego, it makes it really hard to discern what is our own thoughts versus when it's the guides speaking to us or trying to get us some information. Journaling is a really great tool for observing the thoughts, because you're literally writing it down, and then then you could read it like it's third person, like, oh, she's feeling like the butcher might have slighted her today at the deli. Well, I wonder why she thinks that. As opposed to like, I think that butcher just blew me off. That's when you're in the moment as opposed to observing the moment.
All right.
Okay.
And then take it a step further. Well, why would they be blowing me off?
Or did
What is
they?
that? What is that trying to show
What
me?
childhood wound is trying to make me think he blew me off when maybe he didn't even blow me off?
How is he mirroring me? Who am I blowing off?
There's layers, fractals.
Yes, it's so fun.
Oh yeah.
All right, Shirley Barcase. Hello, Jenn and Katie. Hey, lady.
Hi, lady.
Happy New Year. Any news for me? Move, job, new HVAC unit, cheap. All right.
All right. And it was good to see you yesterday.
So the first thing they showed me was you being calm. It's almost like you were in a meditative state. You were calm. You were in the moment, not allowing fears and things to control you and guide you. You know, a lot of times we make decisions and things out of fear. The second thing that they showed me is, you know, you can usually get some sort of like a payment plan through the company that you get an HVAC unit with, and it can be a really reasonable price. So you might want to look into that. You can make that happen.
Yeah, and I am hearing a lot of that. What's going on with you is about keeping that higher perspective and staying in trust and knowing that all is well and all will be well, even when it looks really annoying and not okay and chaotic. It is okay. And getting back to your center and the inner peace. I just heard please.
I'm not really getting much about move.
I heard, well, look, you gotta do what you gotta do, Shirley. I heard wait, it's not time yet. Um, and I heard that like you'll find the right place, but it's not, feels like it's not available yet. Um, but I also feel like this isn't etched in stone either. So it's like you got to feel. I think you got to feel through on this one and do your gut check if what I'm saying isn't resonating. But it also feels like kind of slow your roll on the move a little bit. I heard soon.
Yeah, it just feels like there's actually some gold nuggets here for you to get from this experience and the stress that's kind of happening at this time. They don't want you to run from it.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things to be healed. Um, you know, it reminds me of, and I don't think you're going to have anywhere near the same depth of issue that I had. But when I expanded Nourishing Journey and had to quickly figure out how to make more money.
Oh gosh.
And the months were rolling by and then rent was due and I was like, oh F. Oh no, what am I gonna do? It was very stressful, but I spent, you know, I freaking out wasn't gonna help me.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did is I started really working the energies and it took some time to clear it all out, but I had a lot of ancestral things. I had my own fears. I had karma with it. I had just a lot of things. And I had to really clear it up. And then I had to really work on manifesting. Like I had to manifest in a very different way than I used to. And, but with all of that came a lot of gold. There was a lot of visualizations and meditations and things that came from that, and a lot of energy healing and things that came from that both Katie and I, you know, were
Mm-hmm.
benefiting from and helping our clients with and our students. And so I just feel like there's a lot of gold here that you're not recognizing, and get the gold.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you get the gold, whatever the issue is, whatever it's trying to show you, it can clear up.
Yeah, I'm just hearing there's beauty and there's growth here. And I think that, you know, in the earlier days of financial stress for us, I think we wasted a lot of time feeling stressed as opposed to mining for the gold before we kind of like got it. And then, it all worked
Yeah.
itself out. I
Okay.
think
So I think we can do one more.
okay.
Carrie Goodacre.
Okay, Carrie Goodacre says, hello, anything for me?
Carrie, the sense I'm getting, they were trying to say something, and I couldn't quite get it. So if I looked confused or like I was like, "Hello,"
Yeah, it was kind of straining.
Yeah. But and I think usually when this happens, it's more of a loved one who's talking. Sometimes they're a little harder for me to hear. But the what I think they were trying to get across was this feeling of like feeling calm, very feeling positive, feeling like you're in a good place, and then like getting into a fit or like getting frustrated, getting like the word I heard was fit, but it felt like emotionally like getting into a fit. But not like in a way where it's like a temper tantrum or anything like that. It's just like, why isn't this working? And then like calm and everything's good. And then it felt kind of like a roller coaster of emotion. Um, and gosh, who hasn't been on the roller coaster this year? It's been a little nuts. But I think, and I think this is more for a lot of us here, not just you, Carrie. But it's just this idea of part of what our journey is about is mind mastery, and doing that consciousness work of being able to become the observer, to look at what's happening, and to find a really positive way of dealing with it, because just like we were saying earlier, that thing is going to keep happening until you get the lesson. And it may happen in slightly different ways, but it's just going to keep happening. So remind yourself of that, whatever this is, and just get the lesson. All right, what can I do instead of freaking out or getting upset or getting down or whatever it is this emotion is? Get into that level-headed space, connect to the soul, get very neutral, let everything go, and then just find what is that gold nugget. What is it that you're trying to be shown here? What is it you're trying to show yourself? It shortens, it flattens the curve. That's what they just showed me. I think this is loved ones. They're like, it flattens the curve.
Yeah. The other thing I was hearing is that, and this sort of echoes back to what I was saying about when I would march in, so don't take this personally because we all do it. But when I would march into Jenn's office being frustrated about something, they did say something about these emotional fits. Like you've had a lot of hardship and you feel entitled to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like letting go of that being entitled to the fits because they don't benefit you. It's like learning to be okay with letting go.
Well, and also too, a lot of times when we have, when we're emotional and we're feeling whatever the emotion is that's not helpful for us, it's usually because we don't feel like we're in control and things aren't going our way, and we don't know how to get them to go our way. And but the higher wisdom there is that it's actually always going your way. You just don't realize what it's trying to show you about next steps and what you really need to understand or do to move forward. And it's about like kind of overcoming, or it's the wrong word, but just kind of moving beyond that in the weeds emotional space so that you can get what you really need to get from it. And I think that's it.
I think that's it. All right. Thank you for joining us, everybody. And if you're interested in learning more about what we do, joining a soul growth group or coming, to Florida with us in March, perhaps. That would be delightful. Check out our retreats, and we will see you next week, next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.